Every victory you've ever dreamed of, every success story you've admired, every great achievement that has ever moved the world forward began not on the field, not on the stage, not in the meeting room, but in the quiet, invisible arena of the mind. Before a person ever wins outwardly, they must first conquer the inner chaos that keeps them small. The art of winning begins long before the applause, the recognition, or the reward. It begins the moment you decide to think differently about who you are and what you're capable of. The truth is, most people are not defeated by the world. They are defeated by their own thoughts. They carry old memories, disappointments, self-judgments like weights around their ankles, trying to run a race while being tied to their past. They wake up thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, and taking the same actions, all of which create the same results. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Winning begins when you interrupt that loop, when you decide that your mind will no longer be a reflection of the past, but a projection of your potential. Every thought you think sends a signal into your body, and every emotion you feel becomes a chemical signature that your body memorizes. Over time, those signals create a state of being. If your thoughts are mostly of fear, worry, and limitation, your body learns to live in stress. And a body that lives in stress cannot create greatness. It's too busy surviving. But when your thoughts are clear, empowering, and focused on possibility, your body receives a new message that it's safe to grow, to expand, to reach beyond what's familiar. That's when your energy begins to shift. So does your life. Most people try to win through effort alone by pushing harder, grinding longer, doing more. But without mastering the mind, all that effort becomes resistance. You can't win externally if you're losing internally. You can't achieve abundance while rehearsing scarcity in your thoughts. You can't attract love while broadcasting fear. You can't embody success while expecting failure. The battlefield is not out there. It's within you. The moment you realize that, you begin to step into the true art of winning, to win in life. You must learn to observe your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. You must become aware of the programs that have been running in your subconscious, the silent scripts that whisper, "You're not enough. It's too late. You'll never make it." These programs are not facts. They're repetitions. They're habits of thought built from experiences and emotions that you've relived again and again. The first victory comes when you recognize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And from that awareness, you can choose new ones. The moment you begin to choose empowering thoughts, even if your external world hasn't yet changed, something profound starts to happen. Your brain begins to rewire itself. New neural pathways form. Your emotions begin to align with possibility instead of pain. You start feeling lighter, more focused, more alive. And as your inner world changes, your outer world begins to reorganize itself around that new vibration. Life starts matching your new state of being. That is not luck. That is alignment. Think of your mind as a creative instrument, not a storage room of the past. When you replay the same thoughts, you relive the same emotions, and your future becomes a predictable copy of your yesterday. But when you begin to visualize, to imagine, to think in new patterns, you activate the parts of your brain that can see what doesn't yet exist. That is the birthplace of all winning, the ability to hold a vision, so clear that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. Winners don't react to the present. They respond from their vision of the future. Every morning when you wake up, your mind is like a blank canvas. You can choose to paint it with limitation, or you can design it with power. You can decide to dwell in old patterns, or you can choose to step into new possibilities. The art of winning is about conditioning your mind daily to think thoughts that match the person you want to become. You must become intentional about the energy you carry, the stories you tell yourself, and the emotions you nurture. Because winning isn't just a result, it's a frequency. When you align your thoughts with gratitude, determination, and faith, you begin to broadcast that frequency into the universe. And life, by its very nature, responds. Winning begins when you stop being addicted to your excuses. It begins when you stop defending your limitations and start creating new beliefs. The moment you catch yourself saying, "I can't," ask instead, "What if I can?" The moment you think, it's too late, remind yourself that every breath is another chance. You are not limited by time, by circumstance, or by the past. You are only limited by your belief in them. Change your belief, and your reality has no choice but to follow, to master the art of winning. You must see yourself as the creator, not the victim. You must realize that your thoughts are not random, they are powerful signals shaping your destiny. Every winner understands this. The mind doesn't just reflect reality, it creates it. When you begin to think as if your dream has already happened, when you feel the emotions of victory before the evidence arrives, you collapse the distance between where you are and where you want to be. That's not imagination, that's transformation. And the art of winning begins the moment you decide to make your inner world stronger than your external circumstances. To truly master the art of winning, you must first face one of the greatest truths about transformation. You cannot create a new future while you are emotionally attached to the past. Every person carries within them an identity built from memories, experiences, and stories that define who they think they are. These stories become a script, quietly directing how they feel, how they react, and how they see themselves in the world. But here's the challenge. If your identity was shaped by pain, disappointment, failure, or rejection, and you keep reliving that version of yourself, you are recreating the same life over and over again. To win, you must detach from that old identity and consciously step into the version of yourself who already embodies victory. Most people are unaware that they are living from a conditioned self. From childhood, they are told who they are by parents, teachers, society, and their environment. You're too quiet. You're not smart enough. You always mess things up. These words become programs, and those programs shape beliefs. By the time you reach adulthood, those beliefs are so deeply wired that you act and think as if they are facts. You identify with your pain instead of your potential. But the moment you become aware of that conditioning, you unlock the power to rewrite the script. Detaching from your old identity means refusing to let the past version of you dictate who you are today. When you're trapped in an old identity, your body becomes addicted to familiar emotions, guilt, shame, anger, or even the comfort of mediocrity. The body begins to crave these emotions like a drug because they feel known. And anything unknown, even if it represents freedom or success, feels uncomfortable. That's why change feels hard at first, not because it's impossible, but because your body is trying to pull you back to what's familiar. It's not the new future that's scary. It's the idea of letting go of the old self. But if you want to win, you must break that addiction to the familiar and teach your body what it feels like to live in the energy of your future instead of the emotions of your past. Imagine a person trying to move forward while constantly looking backward. That's what living in an old identity feels like. You say you want change, yet your focus, emotions, and energy are anchored to yesterday. You can't step into your new life while carrying the emotional luggage of who you used to be. Detaching from the old identity is an act of self-liberation. It means recognizing that your past experiences happened for you, it's not to you. That every challenge, every heartbreak, every failure was part of your evolution. Once you extract the lesson, you no longer need the pain. Once you find the wisdom, you release the weight. The process of letting go begins with awareness. When you catch yourself reacting in an old pattern, maybe you doubt yourself before speaking up. Or you sabotage an opportunity because it feels too good to be true. Pause and ask, who am I being right now? That simple question separates you from the old identity. It allows you to witness the pattern instead of being it. Each time you do this, you reclaim power from your past. You begin to dissolve the emotional ties that once defined you. You start to think differently, feel differently, and act differently. Slowly, a new self begins to emerge, one who is not defined by memory, but by intention. The art of winning requires a conscious break from the stories that no longer serve you. You must be willing to become nobody for a moment, to exist beyond your roles, your labels, and your history. Only then can you create a new self-image that aligns with the life you desire. This is not about pretending or faking it. It's about embodying the energy of the future so completely that the old self no longer has power over you. You stop identifying as the person who struggled, and you start identifying as the one who is growing. You stop being the victim of your story and become the author of your new one. Every time you think a new thought, you are firing and wiring new connections in your brain. Every time you feel a new emotion aligned with that vision, you are sending new signals to your body. Every emotion you experience carries a frequency, a measurable vibration that extends beyond your physical body and interacts with the world around you. Science now understands what ancient wisdom has always taught, that we live in an energetic universe, and everything, including our thoughts and emotions, emits energy. The emotions of fear, doubt, anger, and frustration vibrate at lower frequencies, pulling your energy down and limiting your potential to create. On the other hand, emotions such as love, gratitude, inspiration, and determination vibrate higher, expanding your field of influence and attracting experiences that match those vibrations. The art of winning requires learning how to elevate your emotional frequency until your inner world becomes a magnet for everything you desire. You see, most people live their lives as reactors, not creators. They wake up and immediately connect to the old familiar emotions of stress, anxiety, or fatigue. They scroll through their phones, think the same thoughts, feel the same worries, and unconsciously tune themselves to the same emotional channel they lived in yesterday. That emotional repetition signals the same chemicals in the brain and body, keeping them locked in the same frequency day after day. And since your life always reflects your dominant energy, nothing new can enter because your frequency hasn't changed. You can't attract victory while living in the vibration of defeat. You can't invite abundance while radiating scarcity. To win, you must tune your inner state to the energy of the outcome you want before it happens. Your emotions are not just feelings. They are the language of your body. When your mind thinks a thought, your brain releases chemicals that cause your body to feel something: joy, sadness, peace, or anger. Over time, your body becomes addicted to certain emotions because they are familiar. So even when you consciously decide to change your life, your subconscious mind and body might resist, pulling you back to the emotional home of the past. This is why people say they want transformation but fall back into old habits, because their emotions are more powerful than their intentions. The real art of winning is learning how to elevate your emotions to match the frequency of your goals. Even when your current reality hasn't caught up yet, when you feel grateful for a future that hasn't happened yet, your brain and body don't know the difference between imagination and reality. They begin to believe that the experience has already occurred. It's triggering new neural pathways and releasing new hormones that align your state of being with your desired outcome. This is not fantasy. It's neurobiology. You are training your body to become the mind of your future instead of being trapped in the emotions of your past. When your emotions and thoughts are synchronized with your vision, the universe recognizes that coherence and starts responding to it. That's the science of alignment. Your internal frequency becomes the blueprint for the external experience. Think about those moments in life when everything seemed to flow effortlessly, when opportunities appeared, when people showed up at the right time, when life seemed to work in your favor. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. In those moments, your thoughts, emotions, and actions were in perfect harmony. You weren't chasing success. You were vibrating in the same frequency as success itself. The universe didn't need to be convinced. It simply mirrored your inner state. Winning doesn't come from striving harder. It comes from raising your energy to a level where success feels natural and inevitable. The human heart plays a crucial role in this process. Studies in neurocardiology reveal that the heart generates an electromagnetic field much stronger than the brain's, influencing not only your internal chemistry, but also the energy around you. When you feel elevated emotions like gratitude, joy, or love, the heart's rhythm becomes coherent, sending powerful, organized signals to the brain. This harmony between heart and mind amplifies your frequency, aligning your entire being with the vibration of what you desire. Winners live in that coherence. Their heart and mind are no longer in conflict. They move as one. It's not enough to just think positively. You must feel it deeply. Thinking without feeling is like sending a weak signal that never reaches its destination. Feeling without thought is like releasing energy without direction. The art of winning lies in combining both, thinking clearly about what you want and feeling emotionally aligned with it. When your thought is the electrical charge and your emotion is the magnetic charge, together they create an electromagnetic signature that draws reality toward you. That is how your frequency becomes the force that reshapes your world. You can begin to practice this by becoming aware of your emotional state throughout the day. Notice when your energy drops. Notice when you start to feel stressed, jealous, or fearful. In that moment, pause and ask yourself, what frequency am I broadcasting right now? Because whatever you broadcast, you attract. Then shift deliberately. Breathe deeply. Place your attention on your heart and recall a memory that fills you with gratitude or inspiration. As you feel that emotion expand within you, you're not just calming your mind, you're changing your energy. You're moving from survival to creation, from resistance to flow. Over time, as you sustain these elevated emotions more consistently, your life begins to mirror them. You'll notice coincidences, synchronicities, and opportunities appearing where there once were none. People will be drawn to your energy because it carries a magnetic quality. It's not luck. It's resonance. When you live in the frequency of gratitude, the universe gives you more to be grateful for. When you live in the frequency of abundance, the universe opens pathways to expand it. That is how emotion and frequency shape your reality, not through effort, but through energetic alignment. The science of emotion and frequency is not about ignoring pain or pretending to be positive all the time. It's about mastery, learning to feel emotions consciously rather than being controlled by them. It's about recognizing that your emotions are not random but are tools of creation. Every time you raise your emotional state, you tune your energy to the frequency of winning. You become more coherent, more powerful, and more magnetic. Winning isn't something that happens to you. It's something that emanates from you. When your energy is high and your heart and mind are aligned, you no longer chase success. Success begins to chase you. The greatest secret of all achievers, dreamers, and creators who have defied the odds is that they learned how to become the vision before it existed. They didn't wait for proof before believing. They believed until proof appeared. They understood that reality bends to the vibration of certainty. The art of winning isn't about chasing something outside of yourself. It's about embodying the energy of the outcome you desire so completely that you're external, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match it. When you become the person who has already won, you collapse the distance between your dream and your reality. Every thought you think projects a possibility, but every emotion you feel brings it to life. Most people, however, are waiting for something external to change before they give themselves permission to feel victorious. They say, when I get the job, I'll feel confident. When I succeed, I'll feel worthy. When I find love, I'll feel complete. But life doesn't work that way. You can't wait to win in order to feel like a winner. You must feel like a winner in order to win. This is where most people stay stuck, waiting for their environment to give them evidence instead of becoming the evidence themselves. The moment you decide to become the version of you who has already achieved it, you step into the frequency where that future already exists. Becoming the vision before it exists means aligning your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with the reality you are creating, not the one you are escaping. It's about stepping into your future identity, thinking the thoughts that person would think, feeling the emotions that person would feel, and taking the actions that person would take long before the outer world reflects it. When you do this, you're not pretending. You're training your body and mind to live in a new energy. And because your energy creates your reality, the world begins to reflect your internal shift in miraculous ways. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you vividly imagine and what you physically experience. When you visualize your future with emotion and detail, your brain begins to wire itself to that version of reality. You start to activate the same neural networks that would fire if the experience were happening right now. Your body begins to feel the chemicals of success, gratitude, and fulfillment in the present moment. The longer you can sustain that emotional state, the more you condition your body to live in that future energy. That is how thought becomes form, how vision becomes manifestation, how potential becomes tangible. The challenge is that your old self will always try to pull you back. Your brain loves the known because it feels safe, even if that known reality is painful. The moment you start acting like the new you, the old identity begins to panic. Doubts will arise. You'll hear that familiar inner voice saying, "Who are you to think you can do this?" Or "What if it doesn't work?" That's the past trying to survive. It's the body craving its familiar emotions of fear and limitation. In that moment, you must stand firm in your new identity.